Welcome to the Be Well Now podcast. I'm Nick, the curious patient.
I'm Dr. Dummar.
And I ask Dr. Dummar here in Heber City, Utah, so many questions every time I come in. I've got a background in broadcasting, so I figured, wait, what if we just did a podcast where I continue to ask all these questions? There's not folks on your door always saying it's time to move on. You know, Nick needs to stop asking you questions. If I get adjusted, we always tend to get into these deep philosophical conversations. So I wanted to do an introduction to who you are, what you're about, and why we wanted to do this podcast, being well and living in the present moment.
Well, who I am now is a functional medicine doctor, Chinese medicine doctor, and a chiropractic physician. That's what I do here day in and day out. We run an integrative medicine clinic here in Heber, and we work with patients from all over the world.
Wait, how do you work with patients from all over the world?
So we do that partially because we're in a really popular ski town, so I get to see them physically. But we also do it because our modern day has allowed for virtual visits. And so I'll have patients in Spain, patients in Chile, and we'll get on and we'll Skype or we'll do a virtual visit of some sort, and we may end up ordering labs or prescribing certain nutritional recommendations, changing dietary things over the phone, right?
That's so cool. So you know what you're doing. I believe that. But for the folks out there who want to know more about your story, I think you have a genesis story that really taps into your why.
Absolutely. So when I was a kid, when I was young, my father was in the special forces, and he used to take us around for walks just around the area. I mean, like a father does, right? Spending time with his kids. But the thing that I thought was cool about what my dad did is he would have us eat certain plants or certain bugs or certain things as we went around. Now, people might say, wow, that's weird, that's creepy. But I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought I was raised pretty well. So one of the things that he would frequently have us eat were grasshoppers. Another thing he would have us eat were alfalfa buds. He would also have us eat the stalk of the thistle. You can cut out and carve it down. And he would say, look, kids, look at these foods, these plants. You can eat these and consume these. And from that time, as a young child, I remember thinking, how neat would it be to be able to get your supply of nutrition for your body, to sustain yourself entirely from the plants that grew indigenously around you. And now, working with plant medicine, working with herbs, working with nutrients, nutrition, vitamins, minerals, it's like a full circle for me. I feel like I'm getting that fulfillment. I would love to be able to get more into foraging, which I've got some great friends who are fantastic foragers, way better foragers than I am. I need to get a lot better at that. But for what we're doing right now and the people that we're helping and blessing, I'm really happy. Now, the interesting thing is you fast forward a few years, and I'm married and have a few children. My son, he's about 2 years old. He's running out of the kitchen. He slips on the tile, and he hurts his hip, and he doesn't want to get up and walk. And like a good father, get back on the horse, right? I try to help him get up. Come on, son, you can do it. Walk, let's go. Let's make sure this doesn't, impede any of your efforts in the future. Well, after a couple of weeks of him not really wanting to walk.
Which sounds terrifying to me as a dad.
As a parent, as a father, you're like, what's happening here? We decided that we would see a chiropractor to check his musculoskeletal system to see if there was something wrong or off that could be corrected.
Now, had you ever seen a chiropractor before?
As a child, in high school, I played sports. So I played soccer. I loved to play soccer. I ran cross country, and I would go to the chiropractor if I had ankle injuries or any of my sports-related injuries. So that was maybe something that set the stage, but it was interesting because I hadn't even thought of it when I had this happening to my son. It was a recommendation that we had from a family member who said, have you tried a chiropractor yet? So we took him over to a chiropractor. He held him up, my son, pushed on his back. I heard a little click, and he set him down, and my son ran right over and grabbed my wife's legs. free as could be. And at that moment, I just stood back shocked. Like, what? Are you serious? Life-changing event for me. And I thought, I have to look into this more. There's something deeper here. I was studying to go into law. I was either going to go into law or finance, but I was getting ready to take the LSAT. And I thought at that time I wanted nothing to do with health, the health field. All I knew of it was surgery and drugs. And so I didn't
which
really
is
want to
what
be
most
involved in
people which is what most people think of with health. And most parents would probably not think chiropractor. They would probably think, let me get into my primary care physician, and not to knock that decision, but you obviously saw a benefit.
Absolutely.
And I can't imagine how profound that was for your family.
It was significant. It was literally a life-changing experience for us. And it altered, obviously, the events of my life. It altered my career selection. So I started looking into that more, and at the time, my wife was pregnant with our second child. Just had become pregnant within about a month, and she was having really bad morning sickness. She was throwing up 5-6 times a day. She had the same experience with our first child. I just thought it was normal. Like, girls, I guess, they throw up, right? And they have really bad morning sickness. It just happens to be worse for my wife than most others. So we were worried about her health, worried about her nutrition, and it was, watching your wife look very pale, and, it was a tough thing for a husband to do as well, but I didn't know any better at all. And I would have loved to have had some different option. Well, at this time, we'd had the chiropractic experience, and then my wife started getting really sick again with morning sickness, and we started looking in. I was already researching chiropractic, and we came across acupuncture. And I thought, hey, we need to go try this. So we went to an acupuncturist, and my wife got assessed by the acupuncturist, checked her pulse, looked at her tongue, did a variety of different things that acupuncturists do. And they put in some needles. And the simplicity, I'm sitting here watching, and, the questions you ask, are you injecting anything into her? You must be injecting to change her physiology, right? You're putting something in there. No, the acupuncturist said. All right, is there something on it? Is there something on the needle? Like, what's causing the effect? There's got to be something there. So put a few needles in, maybe 5-6 needles tops. And she rested for about 15 minutes. We went home, and she didn't throw up the rest of that day. And the next day. And then the next day we went in for another treatment, and she didn't throw up again anymore. She was nauseated still. She felt nauseated, which you would expect. And there were times where she definitely felt like, I don't think I can eat because I feel like I might throw up. So there were still times like that. But she was not, I didn't have to pull the car over for her to lean out and, empty it all out right there. And I had to do that over and over and over before. So the acupuncture again was a life-changing experience for me. I looked at that and I said, there has got to be something to this. Obviously, they're not injecting something, and there's nothing on the needle that's causing a response. There's nothing attached to the needle that's causing a response. So what is it that is happening in the body? I wanted to know more. So at that time is when I decided I probably need to start looking at learning more about chiropractic and acupuncture, and I enrolled in a program that would allow me to learn both, or to study both at the same time. So I went into school and studied chiropractic medicine and Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, and acupuncture at the same time. My first course in Chinese medicine, I opened this book, I sat down. All I knew of it was acupuncture. I had no idea of the internal medicine aspect of Chinese medicine.
So you're in Utah. You grew up here. Where did you go to school?
L.A. Yeah,
okay.
So I went to Southern California University.
So you leave Utah and go to L.A. Do you bring the family with?
Yeah. We all went together. We found a place to live. I felt like I had to pay way too much money, but my wife was specific on where she wanted to be.
2 small kids?
We had 2 small kids, so.
So this is, you were all in on this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We jumped in with both feet. And my wife, bless her, she's a saint, an absolute saint. She supported me and was believing in me. She believed in the decision that I had made, even though it was, hey, honey, we're not doing law or finance anymore. Well, I'm going into the health field, which then took me an additional year and a half of undergrad.
You're so funny. You're like, well, we had to live in a place that, like, I think the guy's basic instinct is like, we can just live in a shack. We can just live in a studio. Like, it's fine. We'll save money.
Put me on a cot.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't get to make all those calls kids. Now. You have a partner and children, and their say matters and is.
Well, their say was everything.
It's everything. Yeah,
I was
smart man. Smart man.
I'm going to spend 90 to 100% of my time at the school.
Exactly. Things change when you get married. Okay, so you're out in LA. You're studying. I interrupted your story just to try to get a sense of the human experience along the way.
Yeah, no problem at all. And the interesting thing is I sat down in this first class now. And all I knew of Chinese medicine was acupuncture and needles. So I sit down in this first class and I have this book, which is the required textbook for the class. It's like the Merck manual on steroids. Massive. It's called Introduction to Materia Medica. I'm like, what? Introduction to Materia Medica, medical materials, right? And I open the book, and it's got antler horns, it's got tubers, plants, it's got leaf, stems, it's got abalone shell, everything you could imagine, the hooves of an animal, the hide, right? And it breaks it all down and its medical purposes and use and the compounds that are the active ingredients. And I'm looking at this thinking, oh, and I had a little bit of a flashback moment to walking around the block with my dad. And my dad saying, you can eat this. You can eat that. You know, this will be healthy for you, right? It's okay to eat things from the earth, from the environment around you. It's actually really good for you. And I thought to myself, whoa, I just fulfilled something very significant about who I am and what I'm meant to do.
So what's next?
So now we get to run this clinic. Here we are running an integrative medicine clinic, integrating medication and herbals and nutrition and working with people from all over the world.
And you're not just promoting, you mentioned plants. You're not saying eat vegetarian. There's no dogma in your clinic.
No, I don't. So I resist specific diets. If I want to place a patient or give them recommendations, I will call it modified, or I'll modify it to some degree, because patients do need direction. And I learned this early on in my clinical experience. I resisted for a long time even making a plan. Like people wanted, there are nutrition plans, detox plans all over the place, right?
Just tell me what to do, right?
Here's
I don't like my
step.
life. I'm in pain. I don't feel good. You just tell me what to do.
Here's my daily step, right? And I saw that stuff, and it kind of irritated me because I don't see that as harmonious with the daily walk of life, right? The daily walk of life is not, okay, I'm going to wake up, and here's my schedule, and this is what I'm going to eat this, I'm going to take 3 pills, and I'm going to do this. That doesn't, I don't really relate a lot to that. And I don't think that is the ideal way of living either, right? So I resisted it a lot, but then I learned that we're all in stages and we're all in different places of growth and development. And at certain times in life, we need that. We need a tool like that. So our goal at Community Health and Wellness is to empower people with tools and resources to enable them to step away from the tools and resources and be able to make their own health decisions.
Life is such a journey. It's so hard when everybody wants an answer right now. They want a pill. It's going to solve everything right now. I'm the same way. And you've helped me understand a little bit of the nuances around that. Some of it is really easy to explain. Other things about life are very ethereal and almost hard to put into words. And that's why we're going to get into some spirituality and meditation and, how do you deal with certain kinds of situations in life? Anger, conflict, loss. There's just so much that we've already touched on and we're going to continue to touch on. But as we wrap up sort of the about me, who is Dr. Ron Dummar? what are we missing out on? I'm sure 20 minutes is not enough time, but
Yeah, well, I also like to play soccer, and I love to ski. I'm a ski coach. I coach alpine downhill racers, and I have the opportunity of coaching for Arrowhead, which is a lot of fun. It's a blast. I actually coach for their pre-academy kids that are working and developing their skill set to get onto the team, to qualify to get onto the team to compete. So I love doing that. I love skiing. I'm in a ski town as well. And as a result of that, we get to see certain patients from all over the world. We get to see patients that fly in for ski trips, and we see them physically here in person. But also we get to consult with people virtually throughout the world, which is a lot of fun. It's a blast to be here. Soccer, I actually started and ran a soccer club for a while. That was perhaps a thing that I did for my kids and for my wife as well. I was a team physician and an assistant coach for the Real Salt Lake women's soccer team. I did that with a good friend of mine for about 5 years and flew all over the western United States and into Canada to support these girls and to keep them healthy and hopefully keep them performing on the pitch. And they did really well. We had some great successes, and it was a lot of fun.
One tip for anybody out there to live a better life, to feel better today. Give me one takeaway that will help somebody who listened this far into the podcast.
Well, the first thing to do to say how to be healthier now, how to be well now. The first thing I like to do is to look at life in stages, to recognize, like I said before too, that we're all in a different place, to recognize that you have a place that you're at, acknowledge a place you want to be, you think you want to be, and first of all, make sure that place is not a place you have already been.
Ooh.
Okay? Because if you attempt to go to a place you've already been, you're going backward. I tell my patients, we're not going backward. Okay? If you feel like you want to be like you were when you were 20, we're not going there. We're going to a place that's even better than there. Okay? So make sure you're not going backward. Make sure that intention, which is a good intention of you wanting to be healthier and wanting to get your life in order, wanting to correct some things about your diet or about your chaotic life or however the situation works. But make one simple little decision today, right now, that you can say, I made a step in the right direction. And that's it. Then hold on to that. And then tomorrow make another one. And tomorrow make another one. And then tomorrow make another one again. And if you continue to do that, you orient yourself to that intentional place that you hold inside that says, this is what it feels like to be well. This is what it feels like to be me. This is who I am. We all have it inside. And when we're living a life that is separate from who we are, we know it. And it is chaos. It is irritating. It's frustrating. And it feels like we're chained, right? Like we're held down and restricted. So what I would say is, again, to make those little changes, I'll share an example with you. I have my father-in-law. He said to me, son, you'll be proud of me. I go, oh, okay, great. I'm proud of you now. That's fine. But he says, I stopped eating that candy bar for breakfast, and I'm eating a Nutri-Grain bar. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, I looked at him and I thought, okay, I am proud of you. Let's start right there. I'm going to just be proud of you for making that decision. And one of the biggest things he did there is he made a mental shift in his life, right? The guy that likes candy bars a whole lot more than he likes Nutri-Grain bars. Are you kidding me? But he decided for his health to make a decision to eat one or the other. Now, if you look at the processed sugar content in a candy bar compared to a Nutri-Grain bar, sadly, it's almost the same.
I was going to say, I don't think Nutri-Grain, which I ate
Right.
gleefully as a child for years, man, that marketing's good because I'm sure it's not very good for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a different step. It's a step in the right direction. Okay. So a step in the right direction is a step in the right direction. And it's only catastrophic if you're already almost on the brink of catastrophe. Right. So making a little step is far better than not making a step at all.
Can we end it right there? I love that.
Sure. Sounds good.
You have more to say, and that's why they have a podcast. bewellnowpodcast@gmail.com. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. And if you have any questions for Dr. Ron Dummar or myself, again, bewellnowpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste.
Namaste.